back, gamers.
He's back.
I'm back from the land of the sea and the stars, the Lone Star State.
Oh, you were in Texas?
I was in Texas. I was in Dallas.
Okay.
Dallas was pretty boring.
Yeah, he was playing.
A lot of work.
He was playing the latest build of Metroid Prime 4. Yeah.
It's true. Sneak peek. I'm gonna talk about it here today.
Yeah, spoil it right now. No, we're lying. That didn't happen.
Samus.
Say it. Say something crazy. Say something crazy that's not going to get edited out. Do it.
Samus becomes Adam Malkovich.
Okay, that's the stupidest thing you could have said. So we're gonna forget about all of that and move back.
It's a time loop.
Move back to. Oh yeah. Oh shit.
I like the. Oh yeah.
This dude gave me a soda before we started.
The sweet release of noxious gas.
Noxious fucking methane gas from the bunghole.
We are Memory Leak.
This is Memory Leak. We talk about games. We talk about other things. We talk about violence. We talk about hatred.
We talk about exasperation.
Joy. We talk about exasperation. We talk about exasperella. We talk
about knocking walls down.
We talk about vampirella. We talk about. Oh yeah, we do talk about knocking walls down. Which
Barbarella.
Actually, at the place that I yell and scream. Don't say the name.
Star Place.
Don't say the name.
Galaxy's Edge.
We knocked the walls and we knocked the wall down for the room, so and
it's all done.
It looks quite a bit bigger actually, which is very funny.
Which wall was it? The one at the back?
No, it's like when you walk in. If you look to the right, you remember where some of the shelves were.
Oh, after you're already in.
Like where there's a counter and there's some shelves there. The wall behind that.
Oh shit!
Is knocked down.
So you pushed the whole storefront out.
They pushed. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So and then I have even less space to actually do my work there.
Just downsize.
Huh?
Downsize.
I spent part of the day playing Killer 7 today.
Once again.
Yeah, we had the GameCube version.
Tale as old as time.
So look,
we're Memory Leak. We're leaking memories.
We're leaking memories.
We already said that.
Yeah. What's your name?
Benjamin Barbarella to Benjamin.
And my name is Geron. Rise from your grave, Geron.
Reach for the stars.
No, wrong. He doesn't get it because he didn't do the fucking homework I asked him to fucking do. Reach for the stars. Do they say that in Altered Beast?
Altered Breast.
Okay. All right. So it looks like I'm gonna be leading this fucking.
Geron tortured himself this weekend. I don't really know why. I'd like to hear why. That's what we're gonna leak about today.
You all understand that I moderate for a streamer. And
translation has a disease.
No. This isn't the disease part. Sometimes they'll let the viewers vote on what they'll play next.
This is where it came from.
And yeah, I thought I was. Yeah, I said I was going to say this. I said I was going to say that because I said this to Wee. I said this to Wee, and I was like, you know what? I fucking hate Altered Beast. And the two choices were Sonic Mania and Altered Beast. And I was just
why were those the two choices?
Huh? That's just because there's a list of stuff they haven't played yet, and that was
it's just randomizer
of people that like recommend stuff.
Interesting.
And I was sitting there like,
that's such a tragic choice.
Please, y'all, just let Sonic Mania.
Such an easy choice.
Go in. I'm sure it'll be a great time.
Now I know what you're talking about because you were like, people love this game, and I was like, who?
Yeah, who
loves this
That's
game?
what I was saying when I saw it.
I've never heard anyone hype up Altered
Who likes
Beast.
this fucking game?
I know it gets released all the fucking time.
It gets re-released in every compilation that has anything to do with the Sega Genesis or Sega in general.
Yeah,
because
any Sega.
It'll be the arcade version or the Genesis version usually. Excuse me. Rarely it'll be the other versions, but yeah. So look. So I was like, fuck this. I already know I don't like this game. So I'm going to make sure this game is done the first day this person plays it. First day, because they're receptive to tips and shit like that. And I usually just leave the stuff on in the background until something goes wrong, which doesn't often happen.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna be on this one. We're gonna fucking finish this in one day.
What were you playing with them? Was it
No.
multiplayer?
No. So over the weekend, I wanted to play it for my own information.
Was this before the streamer played it?
This is before, yeah.
Oh, so it gets voted on like days in advance or something?
Yeah.
It's not like
when they finish a game, that's when the voting ends for the next game.
I see.
And the game they finished before that was Golden Axe 3.
I always get Golden Axe confused with Altered Beast. I don't know why.
They share some assets actually. Like they share an enemy. They share a time. Like
it doesn't help that I haven't played either of them.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Although
at this point,
I did touch Altered Beast momentarily
Altered
on your
Breast,
recommendation.
Yeah. So look. So over the weekend I played, like, at least Saturday, but it was some Sunday too, of course. I played a bunch of Altered Beast. It wasn't even as much as it seems like it is, because the game is 10 minutes fucking long. But I played it to make sure I was so well versed in that game that if anything went wrong that was impeding progress, I could say, you can cheese this by doing this. Okay, move forward. Go. We're finishing this.
Did you look anything up to do this, or was it just all experience?
I played the game as raw as I could, which meant that outside of having tried it in the past, I just played it on my own, and I found all the little cheese shit really easily before finding out that the game was made by people that really hadn't made games before.
That makes a lot of sense from what I saw. It makes
so much sense, because the game really is... Okay, we're talking about Altered Beast, but before I start getting into that specifically, it did prompt me to go and try a bunch of other Sega arcade games and Genesis games from the time.
From like the compilations, the common shit.
Like the early time. It's like some of the games I had played before but haven't played in a long time, and some of the games I had never played before. And in doing so, I learned a lot about what they were doing with arcade games at the time and how harsh the quality jump was from the late 80s, late 80s Sega to early 90s.
And quality, you don't just mean like graphics and shit.
I definitely don't mean just graphics. I
just
mean specifically
pure design
the way the games function, the experience of playing them. So yeah, going back to Altered Beast, that was the pack-in game for the original Genesis, and I cannot believe...
Oh, I didn't know it was a pack-in game.
Yeah. That's why so many...
That makes a lot of sense.
Ben is rubbing his eye and is making the gooeyest, slimiest noise I've ever fucking heard. That shit was
came through.
Ridiculous.
Allergy season, baby. Let's
go.
There you
go. Yeah. So the game is a very simple side-scrolling beat 'em up. Not like not with multiple planes. It's just 2D, left and right. That's all. Left and right, jumping, all that. And it's a very specifically designed game where you have to play it basically perfectly to get through it. The Genesis version specifically makes me wonder how the Genesis was successful every time I play it. And I know the answer, but it's just that first, if that was my first impression of the system, I would probably be a little bit put off. Though, of course, there's so many other things around it.
Right?
Yeah, context.
What was the year again that it came out?
1988.
So that's NES is what it's comparing against.
Yeah, like
which is like
and
visually it's impressive,
graphically, right? And sound wise and everything.
It's the closest we've gotten to arcade games in
exactly.
home.
And the whole point of the Genesis at that time was to demonstrate that we could actually get the arcade experience again,
right,
at home, because the console, the home, and the arcade market came together at one point for a second, and then they started diverging again. Like beginning of the Famicom was like when Donkey Kong, the arcade game, could be played on the NES, basically.
So the strategy makes sense.
The strategy makes complete sense.
Easy, easy for them to convert. Yeah, I guess easy. I mean, comparing the arcade version and the Genesis version is stark contrast.
Right. And we and I actually did play through the arcade version this past weekend too, for comparison sake.
I saw that.
And goddamn, man, that game sucks balls. That game sucks ass. The music is really annoying now. The graphics are pretty ugly now. So the first two things that it was supposed to do was demonstrate the power of the Genesis, and that shit is worthless now. And then gameplay-wise, you have two moves. It's a punch and a kick. You have an up kick when you crouch and kick. You have punches that it's faster when you're crouching than you are when you're standing.
Yeah, they also do basically a yoga pose.
Yeah.
They do bird dogs.
Yeah, oh my god. Some of the enemies are interesting, but for the most part, they're very strangely designed. There's the one that the little chicken stinger from Golden Axe is the most fucked up enemy in the game, because when it gets
Which level is that in?
It's in like 3 of the levels.
Okay.
3 of the 5 levels. It's not in the first one though. The enemy does this thing where it'll start swinging its tail at you. And in this game, you're only taking damage if you're getting hit by an enemy's attack, which is pretty unique for a game of the time. Like most games, you touch an enemy and you take damage. Right. In this one, if you touch an enemy, you kind of just get bounced back. Yeah. And but this motherfucker will just keep swinging and swinging and swinging, and will stun lock the shit out of you and take all your health while you're trying to just play the stage. And so, okay, let me back up a little bit. The rules of the game are you need to level up
You're a dinky little human man who's naked.
He's not naked, but he becomes more and more naked. You're risen from your grave by Zeus to save his daughter Athena from Neph, who is fucking with the underworld and everything. And you have the ability to transform into a beast, altered beast. Haha.
Yeah, big bear.
Big-breasted bear, big-breasted wolf, big-breasted dragon. There's no breast. What am I talking about?
Altered breast.
Yeah, altered breast. There you go, Mr. Beast. So check it out. You need to get these. You need to hit these blue dogs in the Genesis version specifically. You hit these dogs, the little Cerberus, and they drop a power-up orb, and you pick them up. And when you have 3 of them, you transform into the beast of that stage. When you transform, then when you run into Neph, the bald guy with the robe, he will become the boss of the stage. If you're not fully powered up, in the Genesis version at least, he won't.
You do another level segment, right?
So what? You do another segment of the level, yeah. And if you meet him 3 times without transforming, you have to fight him as a human. In the arcade version, it doesn't do that. It just loops until you transform. But so you go through the level and you think the bosses are going to be the toughest part. Fuck no.
No,
these bosses are the easiest things ever.
At least the drop kick move seemed very handy on the first boss.
So the first boss has the benefit of having projectiles that they rain down their heads, but they rain down on you. You can break them with your special move, and then you can just kind of punch at it with your own projectile. That's what you get as a beast. You get projectiles and a special move, and that one's easy. So the first level actually leaves a pretty good impression.
I was like, this is fine. I'm bored, but it's whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty boring, but it makes you think the challenge is like suitable and it's going to ramp up. Okay. So you get to the second level and there's no platforms, there's no up or down, there's just flat. And
so it's like more boring than the first
level. It's even more boring. So there's these dragons.
First level, I had like realized halfway through, I was like, oh, I can actually tall jump on top of these platforms.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to drop back down, and I
might have figured you have to walk and
I think you have to walk off. But I was like, okay, there's like some variety here. It's it's old, it's chunky, it's got the crust of retro games.
Yeah.
But like, it's early beat 'em up. It was like whatever.
Right. So it's like you can give it a little bit of a pass, but then you start to think of what was released around it, and there's just better games released even before that. There were that were simple but didn't rely on trying to wow you with visuals and sound. And when you like, this is one of those games that makes me think like graphics really aren't that important when everything around is just nothing. Though the game made enough money going into I was researching, just learning about the game, because when I get hyperfixated on this shit, I go full asshole on it. I found out that a lot of people actually don't find the game very good. They just have nostalgia for it, which that makes
a lot of
complete sense.
There's a lot of shit like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't realize that the game is not even very good, and then when they play it again, they're like, "Oh, this isn't very good."
Like, I wish I didn't do this.
It's not even that they wish they didn't do it, but they're glad they like know the truth of it, like how they really feel about it.
Yeah.
And I have that experience sometimes too when I go back to something and I realize it's not very good.
Yeah.
But I have good feelings about the
something
thing.
that you like rented multiple times.
Yeah. But even on the other hand, sometimes I go back to stuff and realize that I do kind of like it. And I'll talk about that in a minute when we go through some of the other games I played.
That's Ken's fixation.
Yeah, you're right.
Ken actually overlooks things until he beats it. That's another kind of nostalgia crime.
Crime. That's what we'll call it. But so Altered Beast, okay. So those first 2 levels, I'm telling you, the second boss, I figured out on the second try of the second boss that if you go up to the top left corner, it's like a flower with a big eye in it, and it shoots a bunch of eyeballs out. Mm-hmm. The beast that you have is a dragon that can fly, so you don't have to walk on the stage. And the stage is flat. So it's like,
maybe that's why.
You don't really get a lot to do with this dragon because you immediately fight the boss.
How does the flight work though?
You can actually
change your position. It's not fixed at a height.
No. You move all around.
I mean, that's definitely why there's no platforms then.
Yeah, but it sucks because you don't get to use it for very long.
Yeah.
So when you get to the boss, it's this eye flower thing, and I was like, this game is fucking janky, and your special move is like an electric shock that appears around the dragon. You just fly up to like the top left corner of this eye, and you mash the fuck out of the B button.
Yeah.
You kill it in like a second.
That makes sense.
A literal second.
Yeah.
But the boss looks cool. You don't get to enjoy it because if fighting it any other way is worthless, you die.
Fine.
It sucks. It sucks.
Here's the thing though. Would you rather a game be like baby easy that you can replay, or game be piss ass difficult that eats your fucking quarters like most of the games designed of that era.
No, there's you giving me this either or thing. The first
because
boss,
I feel like those are the two. Those were the choices at the time.
Those were the choices at the time, but there's the first level was more balanced than that, and I suppose it's because it's probably the one they played the most, they tested the most, because the last one ain't
tested.
Yeah, the last one ain't good. So that first level was good, and that boss was like, it wasn't hard by any means, but you do have to like dodge the attacks a little bit and attack it. But this one, you don't have to do that. And this happens again in the next level, which is again in another cave, but it's not flat. It's got platforms, and that's where you use a high jump, because you need that high jump to land on some of them. Forget what I'm talking about. The level doesn't really matter that much. Your beast transformation is a bear, and your special move when you get that is you have like a screw attack kind of. And it jumps for you when you press the special attack button. You have to jump first. So the boss is this big like dragon snail thing, and it looks kind of cool. It shoots projectiles that you can destroy with your attacks. But the game is designed by people that don't know how to design fucking games like this. So you get up to it, and what do you think you do to beat this boss the most efficient way? Yeah, you go inside of the boss, because the boss doesn't hurt you when you touch it. It only hurts you when it attacks, and its attack is a projectile. You just go inside of it and you mash the shit out of B, and you win. And that sucks. Yeah. That sucks how easy it is to figure that out. So
you're also an adult with 30 years of gaming experience under your belt.
You're right.
This is a lot of people's first video game.
This is plenty of people's first arcade game, but a lot of it also wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean maybe.
Like there were other games. There were people were already playing like Zelda and Metroid on the NES and other games like the Alex Kidd.
What if you didn't have an NES, a Nintendo?
Well, then maybe you had a Master System. You're playing Alex Kidd or some shit. People were playing other games that had other shit, and people had maybe not the time, but people had the experience to.
It's true. I mean, Double Dragon probably blows it out of the fucking water from a beat 'em up perspective.
Yeah, but even then, Double Dragon's kind of janky and rough to play anyway. But look. Are you farting? No, he's burping. Okay. Okay. Fourth level is it's boring as fuck, but it's actually designed, it feels like. The boss you can't choose. It's this weird little serpent thing with a stomach fireball, and it shoots out little baby dragons. You have your transformation is a tiger that goes up and down and shoots wavy projectiles like the wave beam in Metroid. And you have to think about what you're doing. You have to dodge attacks. You have to attack at the right time. That boss is actually fun because you can't just defeat it in 2 seconds. It is fun to beat bosses in 2 seconds, but not when the game is so short that you have to do it over and over and over and over again.
I mean, you don't have to do that.
You don't have to look. Fuck off.
You don't have to play the game 10 times.
But the last level is trash. It's straight trash. There's these little unicorn things that they're like bipedal unicorns that will will attack you when you get a power up and start growing or transforming, you freeze, but the enemies don't. So this enemy while you're frozen, will do a jump kick at you, so that when you get control and aren't invincible anymore, you immediately get hit. Nothing you can do about it. There's these big yellow enemies with tonfas that space you out in a way that you need to use kicks, but you need to use it at the perfect distance. This is a lot of the enemies in the game, by the way, because their hitboxes are not perfect. But you need to be perfect because the hitboxes are so fucked up that you're going to get hit if you swing either just a little too early.
Does this streamer have to beat the game before they move on?
Yeah. She beat it.
Oof.
She beat it.
I know, but it's such a harsh restriction to put on yourself.
That's why I'm like, let's finish this shit.
That's like some angry video game nerd shit.
Yeah.
Like forcing yourself to beat games even if you're fucking miserable.
Frequently, I will say,
please just move on.
You can. No one's gonna be upset if you skip this.
Does she skip it?
No.
Never?
Hardly ever. It's like Battletoads is the only one she probably skipped. Yeah.
The original Battletoads?
Yeah.
Tough one.
And she will come back to it if she finishes a game too quickly, which will happen then.
Did she use save states?
No. Specifically will not do that.
I don't like it.
That's why I'm just like, I got to make sure I know everything about this shit so I don't have to watch this for any longer than a day. Well, I don't have to watch anything, but you know what I mean. But And then that last level, the tonfas and everything. The last boss, you can actually just crouch and punch it. And if you have any more than one health pip left, then you'll just tank it and win. So the game sucks.
Yeah.
Game's shit.
Did they ever make a sequel?
They tried to make a sequel in the Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance, interesting.
And then there's another sequel with the original designers on it for the PS2. That was like some weird edgy thing where you play as like a military experiment that can turn into animals.
Yikes. They added like real plot behind it.
Yeah. Which they didn't
Modern
need to do.
2000s plot.
All they needed to do was make a beat 'em up where you turn into a beast. Just bloody roar that's not a fighting game, but a beat 'em up. That's it.
Did those developers do anything of note after this?
I think so. I mean, I think they still work at Sega. I can't remember though. But so what I learned from playing that was that gameplay was not of the top value even back then.
Right.
And a lot of people's nostalgia for those times, like the games were better. It's not true.
No, it's
and it never has
true.
been. Well, rather, not that it never has been true. There's some cases where it is true, depending on what you're looking at. But it's been like an eternal thing where
people love the shiny shit.
Yeah. They want to sell you shiny, flashy stuff, and that's what it was, shiny and flashy in their opinion at the time. And I think it's okay. I'm not saying don't like it. Like if you like it and have memories of the game, fine. But from a perspective of trying to understand the game design, there isn't really any to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just kind of a mess of it's a mess of stuff, so that you can see the transformation scenes and so you can hear the music on the Genesis sound like it does on the arcade, and the arcade has the voice samples and shit like that. It's literally a tech demo that you had to pay to play in the arcade, and that came with your Genesis at least. So it served its purpose on the Genesis later. But like pre-Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Sega Genesis is such a different thing than what it was after it. Because like that, playing that game had me thinking like, was the Genesis just not that good? I had one as a kid. I was like, no, I love that thing. What am I talking about? And then I started messing with the later games like Castlevania Bloodlines, which is good shit. Contra Hardcore, which is fucking good shit. Sonic 2, good shit. There's a lot of really good games on the Genesis, and I think it took the Super Nintendo existing for them to understand
factor.
That for the home market, just replicating the arcade experience wasn't going to be enough. And I think that bit them a little bit because the cartridges really didn't have space for a battery and things like that for them, for it's like a save battery. So a lot of the games were you play until you lose all your continues and then you start over again. Whereas on the Super Nintendo, you had a lot more games that were bigger and adventurous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the benefit is that the Genesis at least had some shorter things that you could play, that you could probably finish in an afternoon and gain more comfort games in that way. Like that happened to me with Vector Man 2 when I was a kid.
Right.
Vector Man 2, I could guarantee that I could beat it. So I would just play it and be like, okay, great. I played video game today. I can move on. I'm 60 years old. Bye-bye. I think I got it for my 6th birthday.
I looked up the creator.
Yeah. Last name's like Uchida, right?
Yeah. Makoto Uchida.
Yeah.
And he did do Golden Axe, so that was his other claim to fame. Golden Axe was after Altered Beast.
Which I want to get to in a second, yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, not much.
Not much? Okay.
Die Hard Arcade.
Dynamite Deca? Yeah.
And Dynamite Cop.
Those are the same game.
Oh.
That's the same game. Yeah.
All right.
Dynamite Cop was
after that,
renamed Die Hard
other
Arcade.
than the reboot,
yeah,
basically just a studio figure.
Okay. I mean, that's perfectly fine. He probably better suited for that anyway.
Well, that's probably also why Altered Beast was on everything, because he was the one making the call on that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. He was also the founder of Sega of China.
Apparently
he was
okay.
in Sega of China for like most of his career was running Sega of China.
Yeah. Good.
From 2002 basically to present.
Yeah. It seems like he was willing to give up the game design duties to people that kind of understood it a little bit more, which is completely fair.
Yeah.
Did a bird get in? Oh no, that was the AC. Okay.
Fine.
So yeah. Well, speaking of Golden Axe, then I decided to give Golden Axe a try, and discovered that. What do you think I discovered?
Is that also on the Switch Online?
It's on Switch Online. Yeah.
You discovered that it's also piss?
I discovered that I never really liked it, but I still really I don't like it. It's not as, I don't think it's as bad, quote unquote, as Altered Beast.
Is it the same kind of gameplay as side scrolling?
It's a side scrolling beat 'em up that's more in the style that we know of those games to be now. It's got multiple planes of movement and all
not
that.
Not isometric, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Some depth to it.
Right, exactly.
Double Dragon.
Much more Double Dragon style. And damn, that game feels bad to play.
I'm not surprised. There were 3 of them.
Yeah, there were 3 of them.
Did you play 3?
I've seen
because
3,
the streamer played 3.
I watched 3, but I didn't play 3.
I have to imagine 3 is better than 1.
Well,
are they all on Switch Online? Did you say that?
1 and 2 are.
1 and 2 are.
1 is, it just feels really floppy. Like it feels like your attacks are just going through everything. And there's this animation that everyone has where they hit the enemy with the hilt of their weapon. So it, not to mention the enemies are like really difficult to hit. Like I said, it feels like they're all made out of paper. It feels like they're all flat. So the game just really doesn't feel very good. It's one of those games where you might start enjoying it after you start getting good at it, like doing the dash attacks and shit like that.
Right.
But until then, it was the only thing you had. Cool. But without the nostalgia for it, I just cannot. I can't really put up with it. There's much better game. Like,
yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah, Streets of Rage is on the same fucking console. Yeah. And that game fucking, like, Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3. I think 2 is the best one, but 1, 2, and 3 are just better beat 'em ups than Golden Axe ever was.
Yeah.
But though, granted, I was gonna say better music, but Golden Axe does have some cool music in it. So I think that was a good like step forward into making games that were more interesting to play over the long term. Because
especially beat 'em ups.
Yeah, especially when it comes to beat 'em ups. And beat 'em ups aren't like, you have to have a taste for them.
Beat 'em ups
when they're good, they're good. But when they're not so good, they're like really monotonous.
Yeah, because they had the I guess it's relatively recently in the sense of it was during the Switch's lifespan. They had the Capcom Classic Beat 'em Up bundle.
The beat 'em up bundle.
So I flew through most of those, and my realization was I don't think I really understand beat 'em ups in like 2024, and not in not in arcade format where you're basically trying to see how. To me, I feel like the fun of a beat 'em up, other than just like mashing with 4 friends and like using it as an excuse to hang out. The only other thing that seems like a big draw for me would be like, see how few quarters we can spend to beat it in.
And that's how a lot of people challenge themselves to play them, like 1 CC with 1 credit clear.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and that doing so is like...
1 credit clear, though, seems like none of these games are designed for that.
They're
so
not,
it's like, why?
And that's the thing, though. I think some of them actually are.
Are they?
But for you to get to the point where you can play like that, you need to have spent a lot of money anyway. Because a lot of them have there's a lot of efficiency that you have to learn.
But I also feel like that part of the game that where you're gaining that efficiency almost feels like you've broken the game entirely.
And and
I'm not sure that playing the game that way is even that much fun.
It depends on the person, because like Final Fight, because you brought up the beat 'em up bundle, Final Fight has a thing that people call the alchemy system. You can manipulate what items show up.
Interesting.
And it's designed for that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's designed for you to maximize like what you need based on what you're doing, and you can manipulate it, and that's part of the game. Doing things
pretty cool.
And then like Streets of Rage 2, because it was never an arcade game; it was always a console game. It has like extra special moves and things like that, and the game's not that hard.
Yeah.
So you get once you start like stun locking and stuff like that, which they took out of 3, you can do certain things that make the game flow more effectively than if you're just kind of walking up to enemies and mashing on them, especially because they deliberately made your walk speed really slow in Streets of Rage 2 and 1. But so they expect you to do, because you have a couple of jump attacks, and you expect you to kind of move forward with those to open the enemies up and then do your things.
To like learn and like learn what situations to use them in. There's definitely a satisfaction to that of like mastering your kit.
Yeah.
Which is like, that was also what I liked about the newest, like Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah, that has that in there, yeah.
Where it's like, it's got a shit ton of levels. It's got a shit ton of characters, and they all have their own like kits that you can learn. So like, I got that more than I understood like playing through the Capcom beat 'em up bundle.
Yeah, I was
playing through, I was like, these are all very samey for the first part. And the second part is just like, I don't see like playing other old games is interesting to me because like the design is more about like the game itself, whereas a beat 'em up game almost feels like it's a meta on like getting people to spend money. Like it's weird. I get a weird feel
that's the
from
thing about like good beat 'em ups. You'll feel it.
Yeah.
You'll know. But not so interesting beat 'em ups. Then you'll be like, oh, it really is just an excuse to get people together to press buttons. Yeah. Like this is kind of tangent now. Like we played X-Men Arcade and Simpsons Arcade, and I found out that X-Men Arcade is really good.
Yeah,
it feels great to play.
Having a lot of fun on that one.
You can the 6 players, all the characters have their own stuff going on. There's you can attack the Sentinels in all their different states, like laying on the ground, and there's a back and forward facing version of the like ground attack and stuff like that.
There's a lot of detail.
The game's not very long. There's a lot of X-Men just stuff in it. It's a genuinely fun game. It sounds good, it looks good, it plays well. I think that's a good beat 'em up that really is dependent on its presentation, but that isn't the only thing that's good about it.
Yeah.
The Simpsons Arcade game, which also from Konami, is I thought I was going to play that, and we were going to find out that it's really loosey-goosey, and I hate saying it that way. I need to stop saying it like that. But really loose and didn't have a lot of impact on anything. But no, it does. And it has extra mechanics. Like there's certain moves you can do with a half circle motion on the joystick. There's certain moves you can do by standing next to another player. And there's like partner attacks between all the different characters and shit like that. And
I mean, that was definitely a favorite at the arcades and at Chuck E. Cheese. Was the Simpsons one.
Yeah.
People always talk it up.
Yeah. The big favorite at the Chuck E. Cheese's I went to was fucking TMNT.
Yeah. For sure.
Which also was from Konami. And it doesn't actually have that. That's probably the loosest feeling one of all those beat 'em ups. But at the same time, it did have the presentation to go with it. And your characters moved pretty quickly. The game wasn't very long. You felt like you could beat it while you were at, which we did. We beat it while we were there.
Yeah.
And, without taking your mom or whoever's money. Yeah. Like constantly.
Need a couple bucks.
Yeah. You need like maybe $1 or $2 to do it once you understood. And those were cool. But those were also like late 80s, early 90s. And you can see how much different things were. So if I was trying to play Golden Axe and then I was playing one of those, fuck Golden Axe. I don't want to fuck with that, Like Golden Axe has some cool things about it, but it's just not, it's ugly. It sounds bad for the most part. It's rough to play. It's more of a curiosity than anything else. And it makes me realize that a lot of those Sega games in the arcades were fairly generic. Thematically, they just borrowed things. They didn't all the games I just talked about were licensed games, but they respected the license they were taking. These kind of just take shit, and use it however they want. And it's perfect to be inspired by something. But if you're going to be inspired by something, you really got to do something interesting with it. Not just those games were designed to be messed with like when you pass them one time. They weren't meant to be played over and over. But then you have shit like Space Harrier. And that's a Yu Suzuki game. And I was like, people were saying that's one of their favorite things. I know Nelson loves it. Mm-hmm. And the game is hard as fuck because it's fast as shit.
Never played it.
I hadn't played it like seriously. Mm-hmm. But I set it up with a controller. I'm going to tell you right now, I used emulation. Sorry. I set it up with the controller because I needed the analog stick to play it. I wasn't going to play the D-pad version. It is whatever. It's legal, but that's fine. But the
Did you play it on the new iOS emulator?
No, I did not. I didn't use iOS for shit. I don't have Apple shit. But I was playing it and I was like, holy fuck, this game is fast as shit. It feels pretty decent. It feels like I can learn to understand how to dodge all the attacks, like all the shots that are coming my way. So you start like really bad at it because everything is too fast. But once you start getting a flow, it goes really quickly. There's 18 levels, but the levels are like 30 seconds long. And I was like, oh, this is more fun. This is more like something that I feel like I could sit down and learn to play. And it wasn't all just presentation. Like I said, it's the gameplay is there. The crazy, fascinating shit in the game is there. And I was like, okay, this is more my style. And then there was Alex Kidd. People
never played Alex Kidd.
Alex Kidd was like
this. People love Alex Kidd though.
Alex Kidd, the Master System version, that's the one I played. Alex Kidd was like the mascot for Sega for a while before Sonic came around.
Right.
And I imagine every Master System game, the Master System is like the Sega's version of the NES. That system is like fucking weird and nasty too. The colors are garish.
It's crunchy.
And I thought I'd hate Alex Kidd. I thought I would hate it. But I gave it a chance, and this is one of those games where I was like, I went back to it and realized, oh shit, this game is actually quite fun.
Yeah.
This version on this first one on the Master System, the punching works, the jumping works. I wish the first level wasn't a vertical scroller where you go down and you can't see where you're going. That's not fun. That's one of those things where I'm like, Nintendo or Sega. I think Nintendo kind of understood how to make games before Sega did when it came to the home market.
I wonder, it makes me think of that thread that we talked about earlier this week.
Which one?
Just like every game designer should be forced to try and run your game as a board game first. Be forced to design a board game at some point in their career. And a lot of it just comes down to like the basics of understanding how people work.
Yeah, exactly.
And like how human brains and human psychology works in the space of games and game design and trying to get them to do things and think about things.
Yeah, Sega was making games that were very temporary.
Yeah.
Nintendo was making games that you were meant to play and play and play and play. And even if Sega did not believe what I just said for themselves at the time, that's the way I interpret it. That's the way it came off to me.
Yeah.
And not saying like Nintendo is better or anything. I just think they understood earlier what a home system game was supposed to be.
I mean, for all of the corny shit that people say about Nintendo, there is the reality that they kind of like resurrected the video game market.
Yeah.
With that kind of comes some requisite sort of knowledge of what came before.
And an understanding that they needed to make sure these games were fun and lasted, because the whole problem with the crash of 83
the whole quality
was that there was too many games, and there were of fairly low quality, not to mention games back then were really expensive compared to what we were paying now, even though they're still expensive for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But like I've already bid it and bought $70 games, so what am I saying?
It's over.
Yeah, so it's
freaking Jover.
So I found the games. I found Space Harrier and Space Harrier fun. I found Alex Kidd fun. Then I moved on to Afterburner, which I hadn't played much of, and I played Afterburner 2. It's just like Space Harrier with planes.
That was my interpretation.
It's perfectly fun too. It even has the same like life system where the credits you put into your lives, and it displays in the same way.
Flavor.
Yeah, just a different flavor. Perfectly fun, fast as shit. Use the joystick like a big flight stick kind of thing. It probably felt great to play in the arcade. Still good.
Did you just play all these on the Switch Online Genesis?
I didn't play them on Switch Online. I used Fightcade.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because they happen to be there.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the arcade versions are the way to play all these games anyway.
Exactly. I wanted to play as many of the arcade versions as I could, if I could. And
did you rip your own arcade ROMs?
Cut that. Like, why? Why'd you say that? But these are from archive.org, where the ROMs come from for this.
Yeah.
So they're just
the MAME PCBs.
They're on a library. Yeah. But yeah, so I was happy that the fast action games were fun. Like those were good. The weird platformer beat 'em ups were not very fun. And that's fine, because like I was saying before, on the same machine, on the Sega Genesis, we got Streets of Rage 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And that shit redeemed it. We got shit like Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and 3. That shit redeemed it. I don't like Sonic 1 very much. But
it definitely feels like they probably had people designing the games that had a certain sort of they were leaning towards a way of how the stick meant, like translated into movement.
Yeah.
And they didn't really know what that meant for platformers. They were just trying to like make something work because they knew platformers were popular. Whereas they probably just understood the other genres of games better and could think about the movement and how that translated.
And I think they're because it was a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
Like these were games made by fucking programmers.
Yeah.
That's duh.
And the console coming out was after obviously NES and Mario Bros and all that shit. So like they just kind of probably had a reset. They had new blood come in that was like, listen, we got a new console now. We're not beholden to the stick. We got fucking D-pad. We got buttons. Make a real game, please.
Please, yeah. And I think a lot of the people that were working were probably more business oriented, more like programming oriented. And there were people that understood how to make things work, but didn't necessarily understand how to make it fun.
Right.
So they needed multiple tries, though they had the benefit of being the most like well-known 16-bit console that could also play games that looked like they did in the arcade. And that was enough for a lot of people to jump on it. Because I know the Genesis was very successful. It had a lot of people buying it for years, especially in other regions. The processor was faster, things like that. So, and that was a time when like Super Nintendo and Genesis had completely different games. Oftentimes their games were completely like the same game would be different between them, even if they were similar designs. Like the Lion King game on Genesis is slightly different. It's different enough from the Lion King game on the Super Nintendo, and the Aladdin game is completely different because they're different studios.
Not easy to port games.
Yeah.
Very different.
You have to rewrite shit. You have to make a new thing. I think that the Sega, because of this experience, I learned that the Sega Genesis is actually pretty fucking amazing. The Mega Jet, whatever you want to call it, it's pretty fucking amazing because of how primitive and nothing the early games were compared to what came later, which I've mentioned. God damn, the jumps in the game speed, frame rate, just the things going on screen, the amount of interesting designs they had for shit, the sprite sizes sometimes, and without changing the hardware of the console. Of course, they'd add things to the cartridges like they did on the Super Nintendo, but not in the same way that they did for the Super NES. It was just like people were figuring out shit fast. You know what I'm saying? From 88 to 1994, about even the Genesis kind of went longer than that, but 1988 to 94, like within 6 years, they learned to take this little thing and turn it into something bigger than itself.
Yeah.
Just by instead of making a bunch of arcade ports of games that aren't very good, they started making games that were very good that you could only get on the Sega Genesis. Yeah. And then you had a world where you'd play Super Nintendo and you get these bigger adventures. You'd play Sega Genesis and you get these more faster action experiences that had the depth that you would need for an arcade game, but one that you owned at home. Didn't have just 2 seconds to play. You had maybe 2 hours to play.
A real Cinderella story.
It's a real Cinderella story. But yeah, so I thought I was gonna get a little bit madder here, but I wasn't. So let me back up.
It's like only good vibes, really.
The
Altered Beast is pissing ass
after the Altered Beast thing, and
after you spent a weekend just getting mad.
You don't need to know how long I spent just like rolling my eyes at that fucking game. But the end of the story of that is that I did start to
renewed appreciation.
So I started to like it a little bit. So let me explain. I hate
Stockholm Syndrome.
I know exactly. Beast. I hate that game. I think that game is awful. But I started to like it. Look! Stop! Listen!
Holy shit!
I started to like it only because it's like Stockholm Syndrome. I started to understand. It's like when you're it's like when you're hanging out with somebody. You understand
he loves me.
They're not. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. All right, forget that example. You're in a situation and you start to make the best of it. Oh, Stockholm. Holy shit. Okay, don't play Altered Beast. It will fuck you up. God. It will alter your fucking mind.
God, that is so fucking funny.
Listen. I was playing it, and when I started to understand how to play it and how to do it perfectly, I then started to like playing it, but I don't like the game. Look, listen before I sound crazy.
You enjoyed your own mastery of a system.
Enjoyed mastering exactly. Yeah. I enjoyed learning to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's something you can only do in the context of a game, because I can just stop whenever I want. This isn't like a person. This isn't a job or anything like that. This is just something I chose to play it until I understood it. And now that I understand it, I can understand why I don't like it, which I do like.
Yeah.
I do like gaining understanding.
Yeah.
So I now have an appreciation for it.
It's something that I think most people, the 99% do not engage with games in this way.
Yeah.
Straight up.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. And they can't, they shouldn't.
No time, no patience. I mean, they don't need to either. There's no requirement.
There's no requirement.
Playing games to think about it that deeply.
And this game being so short meant that I did have the time to do it because I was doing it while I was doing other things. I would just leave the game running, pick up the controller.
Damn, you actually did your own action button review of Altered Beast. It's just that, you had the time scale for a 10-minute game that he has for a 400-hour game.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Shit. All right. Well, yeah, I even did I went to find out how the development went.
History.
The development wasn't smooth, but it's not my job to tell you how that went. When Uchida found out it was going to be a pack-in game, he couldn't even get to a country that had the game as a pack-in game for 3 years, and by the time he did, Sonic the Hedgehog was the pack-in game. So he was like, "What the fuck?"
That's really fucking funny.
What the fuck? Why?
That's really funny.
And the game was also ported to stuff like Famicom, TurboGrafx, a bunch of
Was it actually ported to Famicom?
Yes, it's a licensed game from Nintendo and Sega, developed by another company.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
And it's not good.
Is it better?
Hell no, is it better? It has more levels though. It has more levels and a couple more transformations.
Interesting.
But that's to make up for the fact that they had to take out so much, like enemies and things like that. And if you're taking stuff out of Altered Beast, oh boy, there ain't much to take out. So what's left? But look. Okay, so like I said, after the cackling and everything, I learned to appreciate the game for being an experience that people have had. And that's one of those things where in the past I've even mentioned it's good to sometimes play a not so good game.
Yeah.
So you can appreciate
palate cleanser.
Yeah. It worried me. It made me think every other Genesis game was bad. But then when I hopped into some of the ones that I do like, I realized how good they really are and how much work they must have put in to make those games as good as they were because oh shit.
Yeah, Altered Beast. I feel like it's basically a Flash game.
It's
a game
less
on
than that.
Congregate.com.
It's less than that. It's a game on Nokia phone. Nokia phone.
Fun fact: I played Mega Man 3 on Motorola Razr.
Oh shit!
Using T9. I did it between classes.
That must have. That was like the jittery. Really,
well, but here's the thing: those I almost want to find a ROM of those versions of those games. Yeah, they're definitely different because of that.
Yeah,
they're a lot easier.
Yeah, they have to be.
They're really easy.
The controls
because
and the way
game
the processor
plays way slower.
Yeah.
So and it's a very weird experience.
But I want to see that shit too.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll have homework to do. But
so hold up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why is your streamer playing through Sega games just for fun, or
that's what was left on the thing that people hadn't voted for?
That's really funny. That's saying something. That's how we got here.
Yeah,
it's like the bottom of the barrel.
Exactly. Well, and she doesn't realize that some of those games are just not like Golden Axe 3. Watching that was torture for me. That shit was torture.
How long did it take?
I don't remember. It took maybe a week. A week is like 3 days. They only stream 3 days of the week.
How many? Who's the streamer? You got to shout him out now.
Don't worry about it.
You got to shout her out.
Don't worry about it. I'm not
blow her up. Let me follow her.
I'm not
going
to do that right now, dog.
Come on.
No, I don't want to do that right. We'll do it later. We'll do it later. I just don't want to call out names on this. And
why?
I just don't want to do that.
Follow.
Huh?
I can follow.
No, I'll tell you after the fact.
Add some followers.
I just don't want to do it right now, though.
All right.
But what's it called? I try to split my pools. You know that.
What does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean?
It's just like
split your pool.
Split my pool. You know
what pool?
Like
pool of what?
My pools of. Don't worry about it. I'm a psycho. I'm a psych. It's been established today. I'm a fucking psycho. But it's all right.
What else you got?
So okay, so that's my spiel on that. You want to hire fans though?
Let's hire fans.
So there's a
Oh, you got one.
There's a fan made version of Altered Beast that makes it's like I think the videos I saw from like a year ago, and they tried to improve the gameplay.
Holy shit! They tried to Project 06 it.
Yeah. So not even try to. They added more shit like they added more things to it. You could.
What's it called?
I don't remember. Just look up Fan Altered Beast.
Fan remake.
Yeah. and you've got bigger beams, you've got more attacks, you've got more things like that, and it looks kind of all right. I need to play it though. It's interesting because when I played Altered Beast, a lot of time I spent was thinking how I would make it better.
Yeah.
So if they are already doing it, I might actually fucking hire them to do and try to lead them to do the things that I want to do, like maybe adding 3-hit combos to some of the punch attacks and shit like that.
Obviously you'd have to see what they changed.
Yeah.
But I guess, the fact that they want to take a game that people have fondness for, but actually probably sucks.
Yeah.
Almost give it a remaster, remake type of a thing to it. So when people go back, it's the game that they remembered, not the game that it actually was.
Right. See, the problem is that some of the bosses they added are like Castlevania bosses and shit like that, like, which is cool, but you gotta make new shit.
That's pretty corny.
You gotta make new shit. So in doing this, I played a game called Two Crude Dudes, which I rented when I was a kid, and I was afraid playing that I was going to find out that the game wasn't actually that fun. But it turns out that game is actually what Altered Beast would be if it were fun.
Interesting. Two Crude Dudes.
Two Crude Dudes. It's called Crude Buster in Japan. It's a sequel to Bad Dudes, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's like a Saw sequel to Bad Dudes. It's from Data East, and the game plays similarly, where you have attacks and you're on a single plane. The enemies come at you, and you kind of just kick and punch them away, and you can pick up anything, including the enemies. And instead of the gimmick being transforming, the gimmick is being able to pick up everything. But the game also has the benefit of not being so strict, because it's like a game. So you do have when you hit the attack button, you do have a combo. You have like a little bit of a combo, so you can cover a lot more space than just trying to figure out what move will cover what spot, which is great for a game like that. You can pick up things in the environment and just kind of throw them through enemies, which would then deal with a row of pixels in front of you. The music's good. The fucking the setting is interesting. It's like post-apocalyptic New York, like after nukes fall in 2010. It's 2030 and they're trying to rebuild, but there's a bunch of weird gangs and mutants and shit. And the government contracts you to deal with it. Like they literally say, we're going to hire 2 crude dudes to go in and deal with it. I was like, that's funny as shit. So I want to like use what I learned from replaying that and finding out that I do like that game to make a game that's like make Altered Beast better. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but yeah.
I got some bad news for you though.
What?
I don't think this game is actually better.
Oh, it probably that's what I'm thinking.
I think the only things they added were like 16:9. They added hyper moves for your form, like supers.
Yeah,
and they added like a couple new enemies and new moves for the bosses, but they didn't change any of the mechanics.
Let me see it.
In fact, they made the game seemingly easier. Yeah, with these super moves. They had they gave the wolf like a Kamehameha.
And the collision detection is still piss ass garbage, but
they didn't touch the mechanics.
But I think they
didn't clean anything up.
I think they understand what makes the game kind of sort of interesting and want to do something with it. And I can agree with that. So yeah, it does look they have the little sprite rotation that I don't like too high res sprite rotation. But again, I would want people to help me make a good version of Altered Beast.
Maybe they just need some direction.
Yeah. I think maybe I could give that to them, but I'm not going to do that.
Brazil Mugen team.
Oh, yeah. Of course it's Brazilians. But that's not a negative thing, bro.
Not in a racist way.
Sega systems are very popular in Brazil because of imports and stuff like that, and some of them were manufactured there. But okay, so I'm going to cut it there.
All right.
But
that was good. That was a good dump.
Yeah. Got those thoughts out of my head.
Basically action button reviews from Geron, Altered Beast.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. All right. If you like this, give us a shout out. Give us an email at memoryleakpodcast@gmail.com. Give us a subscribe on YouTube. Give us a heart on Spotify. Jesus. Give us a download on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean.
Wow.
I think that's it. Wait. There's one more. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio,
yeah.
We did it.
I don't think anyone... All right, I'm not going to talk about it right now.
It's fine. All right. Yeah. Until next time.
All right.
Peace.
We good.